Let's talk about that loaf of bread sitting on your kitchen counter. It seems harmless, right? Well, it might be hiding some pretty shocking secrets. We're talking chemicals that are restricted in Europe, huge price markups. Honestly, the Aussie bread industry has a lot to answer for. Okay, let's get right into it.
So, what we're going to do right now is pull back the curtain on the whole industry. We're going to look at the ingredients they hope you don't notice and the clever marketing tricks that get you to pay more for a whole lot less. I promise you, what you're about to see is going to completely change how you walk down that bread aisle. Just look at this. This really shows you the scale of what we're dealing with. We're not talking about small things here. This is systemic. You've got a system where just a couple of companies can get away with using controversial additives, some of them even made from petroleum byproducts, and then sell it all to us at a massive profit. So I guess the first question has to be, who are these companies? Right, let's pull that curtain back. You walk into the supermarket and you think you have all this choice, right? Dozens of brands, all competing. But the reality? It's not like that at all. The huge majority of what you see on those shelves is actually controlled by just a handful of massive corporations. This chart says it all, really. Just two companies, Goodman Fielder and George Weston Foods, completely dominate the Australian bread market. They control more than 3/4 of every single loaf sold. And that lack of real competition, that's what lets them basically set the prices and decide what ingredients go into almost every brand you see. And here is the big reveal. You know when you stand there trying to decide between Helga's and Abbott's Village Bakery? Well, spoiler alert. You're just choosing between two different products made by the exact same company, Goodman Fielder. Same thing with Tip Top and Bergen. That's both George Weston Foods, selling you a budget loaf and a premium health loaf that likely come out of very similar industrial factories. Okay, so now we know who's pulling the strings. Let's get specific. Let's name some names. We're going to count down the 7 brands you really need to think twice about buying, starting from number 7 and working our way down to the absolute worst offender of them all. Coming in at number 7, we've got Helga's. Now, a lot of people grab this one. The packaging looks kind of fancy, it costs a little bit more, and it just feels like a better choice than the basic white loaf, right? Well, that feeling is exactly what their marketing team is paid a lot of money to create. So the main preservative in Helga's is something called calcium propionate, or number 282 on the label. This is a big one to watch out for. Yeah, it stops mold, but some studies have linked high long-term consumption to gut issues. We're talking inflammation, irritation. Now here's the crucial bit. Europe has really strict limits on how much of this can be used in bread. Australia, we don't have those same limits. At number 6 is an absolute icon, Tip Top. It's the bread so many of us grew up with. But that warm, fuzzy nostalgia is an incredibly powerful marketing tool, and its owner, George Weston Foods, uses it to sell a very, very industrial product. So, what's inside? Well, you'll find a whole cocktail of acids and emulsifiers. And what do? Emulsifiers like 472E are what create that unnaturally soft texture that somehow lasts for weeks. But the truly shocking part is where these things can come from. They can literally be derived from petroleum products. Just think about that. You are eating byproducts of the oil industry just to keep your sandwich soft. Number 5 is a straight-up masterclass in deceptive branding. Abbott's Village Bakery. I mean, the name itself is designed to make you feel good, right? It makes you think you're buying from some small, local, trustworthy baker. And that's the heart of the deception, right there in that quote. It's not from a village. It's not from a corner shop. It's from the same massive Goodman Fielder factory as Wonder White, and it's loaded with a similar list of industrial ingredients, things like mineral salts and soy flour, all designed for factory efficiency, not for your health. Okay, this is where it starts to get really frustrating. At number 4, we have Birkin. This brand has done an amazing job of marketing itself as the ultimate healthy choice. The packaging is all about nutrition, whole grains, protein. It's the go-to for anyone trying to be health conscious. But here's the reality behind that promise. That healthy loaf, it still contains the exact same petroleum-derived emulsifier, 472E, that we saw in Tip Top. And that protein boost, it often comes from cheap industrial gluten and soy isolates, not just from Whole Foods. So you're paying a premium, sometimes up to $7 for a health product that's still full of the same old industrial trick. All right, this one might be the biggest shock for a lot of people. Coming in at number 3 is Baker's Delight. We walk past it in the shopping center, we smell that amazing fresh baking bread, and we just assume, yep, that's the real deal. That's the alternative to those supermarket loaves.
But that baked-on-site story, it isn't the whole truth. For most of their stores, the dough actually arrives frozen from a central factory. They just thaw it out and bake it. And if you check the ingredients on their packaged loaves, guess what you'll find? The same old preservative we've been talking about, calcium propionate. You're basically paying double the price for clever marketing and the smell of baking. At number 2, we have the in-store bakery bread from Kohl's. Now, this one is particularly sneaky. The problem here isn't just that the dough is also frozen. It's the total and complete lack of transparency. It's a black box. You see, because it's technically an in-store bakery item, they often don't have to display a full ingredient list. But people in the industry confirm it's got the full range of dough conditioners and preservatives. So in trying to make a fresher, better choice, you actually end up knowing less about what's in your bread than if you just grabbed a packaged loaf off the shelf. It's wild. Before I reveal our number 1, I just want you to look at this number, $9. That's the price of our worst offender. Keep that price in your head because it is absolutely central to the betrayal. And here we are. The number 1 brand to avoid is Woolworth's Macro Organic Bread. Yes, you heard that right, the organic one. And look, it's number 1 not because it's the most unhealthy, but because it represents the most profound, most calculated betrayal of consumer trust.
This is what's known as the organic loophole. The organic certification often only applies to the main ingredient, in this case, the wheat flour. It can still contain added non-organic gluten and vegetable oils. And Woolworths knows that parents, trying to do the best for their kids, will pay that premium, $9 a loaf. They are exploiting that desire to feed your family well with a product that's only slightly better, while they rake in obscene profit.
Okay, so now that you know the truth, you might be feeling a bit disheartened, but please don't be. The good news is there are really simple, clear steps you can take to fight back and choose much, much better bread. Let's figure out a better shopping strategy right now. It's actually pretty simple. Step 1, read the label. A great rule of thumb is if it has more than, say, 5 ingredients or a bunch of numbers you don't recognize, just put it back. Step 2, if you're stuck in the supermarket, there are better brands out there with way fewer additives. You just have to hunt for them. And finally, the best option of all, find a true local artisan bakery. Their bread is just flour, water, salt, and starter. And you know what? It goes stale in a few days. Because that's what real bread is supposed to do. You know, this whole deep dive isn't really just about bread. It's about a food system that too often puts shelf life and profit way ahead of nutrition and honesty. So the question we want to leave you with is this. If this stuff is happening in the bread aisle, what other foods in your pantry might be hiding similar secrets? I think it's time we all start reading the labels and demanding a lot more from the companies that feed us.